My first question is for Mr. Charrier. I come from a
Come on in.
state.
I'm trying to turn this.
I come from a state that has got a real mix of different energy alternatives. It's a growing state for wind, a lot of solar going on. Of course, we've been heavily dependent on coal over the years. Natural gas is up and coming. But one thing I've noticed in traveling through Indiana is that you'll get into certain counties that actually have signs at the county line, no wind energy. You know, I won't go over the reasons why, but you got an adjacent county that has pushed it. You've got another county that doesn't want it. I'm a big believer that you've got to always defer to that local input. I'd like your opinion on in just how it's playing out in Indiana and that urge many times for us to do things from afar to where we'd put our guidelines and policies in place, especially from here to the states. And sometimes state governments can be overbearing into their own counties. What is your kind of viewpoint on how that should work, and how do you see it trending when you observe across the country?
Well, local control is absolutely critical to the development of renewables in rural areas. What we've seen is that, as you've seen in Indiana, many rural areas are setting up signs to debate what type of power. We've seen it for solar, we've seen it for wind now. I think the critical thing is to have a uniform set of processes that allows the landowners that want to be able to provide this, use this, and develop, whether it's wind or solar. It's absolutely critical to them. And also being respectful of joint landowners. But I think having a uniform set of rules throughout the state is pretty critical, because it's on a county by county basis. It makes it very difficult to develop these projects that way.
And then clarify in terms of any input from the federal government that would weigh in some type of way to homogenize the process. Is that workable at all?
I believe it is. I think the federal government can provide various incentives within the state and local levels to help provide and streamline these processes. But I think it ought to be much encouraged. I think here in Iowa, we have had considerable wind development, and we've had some resistance in certain counties where they've set up rules to slow down the development. But they are looking for uniform processes, and being respectful of landowners or adjacent landowners when this is being developed is pretty key.
Well, I would hope that that uniformity never comes from here, and that it is within the domicile and prerogative of the state. My next question is for Mr. Mancuso. Senator Bennett earlier talked about workforce development. Indiana is the biggest manufacturing state per capita in the country. Wisconsin's very close. But for my observation, in running a business for 37 years prior to being here, there has been an issue not only with state departments of education, but especially high schools for not promoting or at least offering those options in terms of high demand, high wage jobs that most of us need. A state like Indiana, I think, ships out twice as many four-year degrees as we keep in state. What is your observation in terms of what you're seeing at the grassroots level? Are high schools getting back to teaching these critical life skills, and especially pushing career and technical education pathways, and minimally not stigmatizing that as an option?
Yes, thank you for the question, Senator. And I would say, yes, high schools are moving back to the career and technical programming that they have missed over the last few decades in the high schools. A lot of times now, at least in Iowa and our neighboring state of Nebraska, is what they're doing is they are partnering with the community colleges, either through concurrent enrollment or through sharing lab space to give those students those career and technical classes that they were missing before. So a lot of our schools are rural. So we have 4 rural centers that students are able to attend and get those career and technical classes. And high schools are slowly and surely moving towards that. I will point out that Iowa is the #1 state for concurrent enrollment for high school students. So we do have a large number of students in our centers each day from high schools going through multitude of programs, both arts and sciences, transfer courses, and now more so in the last 5 years, the career and technical.
Well, that's good to see, and I think that right mix of making sure, especially for parents, probably the main stakeholders in the whole journey, along with their kids, we need to make sure that we're not misguiding, that we're not stigmatizing, and that we give the full range of options and then put it into practice. Thank you so much.